When a person turns to Allah in sincere prayer, something profound begins to unfold, far beyond what the eyes can perceive. Prayer is not merely the articulation of needs, it is an alignment of the heart with the one who controls every outcome. Many people misunderstand dua as a last resort, when in reality it is the believer's strongest starting point. The moment you raise your hands, you are acknowledging two powerful truths: your own human limitation and Allah's limitless ability. That shift alone mobilizes a change within you, and simultaneously, by Allah's command, angels begin to move in your favor. You see, we often chase solutions on the outside without recognizing that the most significant shift happens on the inside. When your heart softens in prayer, when your voice trembles with honesty, and when your mind becomes fully aware that you are speaking to Allah, that sincerity itself becomes a force. It clears the fog of confusion, it settles emotional turbulence, and it creates a psychological strength that no enemy, no difficulty, no setback can easily penetrate. Prayer stabilizes you internally so that external challenges lose their power. But sincerity is key. Allah is not moved by eloquence. He is moved by authenticity. The dua that comes with humility, when you admit, "O Allah, I cannot do this without you." That is the dua that the angels rush to carry upward. And the beauty is, Allah knows the sincerity of your voice even before you utter a single word. The moment your heart turns to Him, the process has already begun. The angels assigned to you, those who protect you, guide you, record your actions and accompany you, respond by His permission to your spiritual awakening. It is as if your prayer signals to the unseen world that you are ready for divine intervention. And this is where many people underestimate the impact of dua. Prayer is not only about receiving what you ask for. Sometimes the greatest gift is what Allah prevents. You may never know how many dangers were redirected, how many traps were dismantled, how many conversations went differently, simply because you raised your hands in a moment of sincerity. Allah tells us that He is closer than our jugular vein, and that closeness is felt most deeply in prayer. It recalibrates your perception of fear, your relationship with hardship, and your understanding of destiny. Even psychologically, prayer pulls you into a space of clarity. It reminds you that not every battle is meant to be fought with force. Some battles are won by surrendering to Allah, not to the situation. When you pray, you rise above the chaos instead of drowning in it. You begin to see life with a wider lens, recognizing that Allah's plan extends far beyond what you can currently comprehend. So whenever life feels heavy or threatening or unfair, return to that place of intimate conversation with your Creator. Because prayer is not just asking for help. It is stepping into the protection of the one who never abandons you. Remember this: the moment you pray with sincerity, the world around you may remain the same, but the world within you begins to transform. And that is where true victory starts. One of the most comforting realities of our existence, yet one we rarely pause to reflect on, is that the believer is never alone. Even when you feel isolated, misunderstood, or surrounded by hostility, there are angels assigned to you by the command of Allah. These angels are not symbolic. They are real, functioning, active agents in the unseen, carrying out tasks that directly relate to your well-being. When you pray, when you call upon Allah, you are not just expressing devotion. You are activating a level of divine support that extends far beyond human capability. People sometimes assume protection must be visible to be meaningful. But the most powerful protection is the kind you never see. Think about how many moments in your life passed without incident, how many times you felt intuitively guided to avoid something, how often harm was delayed, softened, or removed altogether without you understanding why. We tend to attribute these things to coincidence or luck, yet part of the unseen system that Allah has placed around His believers is the assignment of angels, some who watch, some who guard, some who intervene, all orchestrated with perfect wisdom. When you pray, you deepen your connection to that unseen protection, your dua, your tears, your quiet whispers in the darkness. They strengthen your bond with your Lord, and by His permission, they activate the angels who support you. It is as though your prayer signals your readiness to receive what Allah has already prepared for you. These angels are not protecting you because of your strength. They protect you because you have chosen to seek Allah's strength over your own. And there is something incredibly empowering about knowing that your efforts are supported in ways that transcend your physical world. Psychologically, it removes the overwhelming burden of believing you must fight every battle alone. It reminds you that life is not a solo journey. When you pray, you're not just expressing hope. You're aligning yourself with a network of divine assistance that operates with precision and mercy. Philosophically, this should shift how you interpret challenges. Not every setback is abandonment. Sometimes it is divine redirection. Sometimes the angels are steering you away from something your limited vision cannot yet see. At other times, they are strengthening you internally because Allah knows what lies ahead. This understanding breeds humility, patience, and a profound sense of trust. You realize that the unseen is not empty. It is active, deliberate, and filled with angels fulfilling their roles as commanded by the one who loves you more than you will ever comprehend. So, when you stand in prayer, do so with the awareness that you are not calling into a void. You are calling upon Allah, surrounded by angels who hear, witness, and move by His instruction. Let that give you confidence. Let that give you peace, because a person protected by Allah through His angels walks through the world with a strength that no enemy can overpower. And remember this, when you pray, you do not stand alone. Allah surrounds you with a protection that even your enemies cannot see. There is a profound reassurance that comes from understanding that Allah Himself promises to defend those who believe and place their trust in Him. It is not merely that Allah watches over you. He actively protects you, guards you, guides you, and intervenes on your behalf in ways you may never fully grasp. When you truly internalize that your life is under the care of the one who knows every intention, every plot, every hidden agenda against you, your relationship with fear begins to change. You stop reacting to threats, and you start responding with faith. Many people live with the constant anxiety of what if? What if someone is trying to harm me? What if they speak against me? What if they plan something behind my back? What if I'm not strong enough to handle it? And the answer, from a purely human standpoint, is that you might not be, but the promise of Allah is that He is. The Quran repeatedly reminds us that Allah defends the believers, not occasionally, not conditionally, but consistently. That divine protection is already in motion even before you realize you need it. Prayer strengthens your connection to that protection. When you turn to Allah, not only are you seeking His help, you are reaffirming your allegiance to Him. You are saying, "O Allah, I choose you over my fears. I choose your guidance over my assumptions. I choose your plan over my insecurities." And when a believer chooses Allah with sincerity, Allah never leaves them to fend for themselves. He protects them from enemies they can see and enemies they cannot see, from dangers they anticipate and dangers they are completely unaware of. This is why some battles in your life never reached you. Some harm never touched you. Some plans against you simply collapsed. It wasn't coincidence. It was divine defense. Psychologically, this realization is liberating. It frees the mind from overthinking and frees the heart from drowning in suspicion or worry. When you trust that Allah defends you, you stop exhausting yourself trying to monitor every threat. You begin to understand that your responsibility is to remain steadfast, sincere, and committed to what is right, while Allah takes care of what is beyond your control. This shifts your inner state from fear to clarity, from tension to calmness, from insecurity to a quiet confidence. Philosophically, it also reframes your understanding of power. True power is not in numbers, nor in influence, nor in wealth. True power lies with Allah, who can elevate or break any plan with a single command. When He protects you, no one can harm you, and when He exposes someone's wrongdoing, no one can hide it. The world becomes less threatening when you recognize that the ultimate authority is on your side, as long as you remain sincere in your prayer and genuine in your trust. So let this truth settle deeply in your heart. Allah's protection is not distant. It is active, present, and perfectly timed. Trust Him and walk with the certainty that the one who defends you is stronger than anything that opposes you. One of the most remarkable aspects of prayer is the way it dismantles what others may build against you. We sometimes forget that human beings can plot, scheme, strategize, and even invest energy in trying to bring someone down. But none of it holds weight in the presence of Allah's plan. When you pray, when you hand your fears and uncertainties over to your Creator, you are placing yourself in a position where the intentions of others lose their influence. It is not that the world suddenly becomes kinder. It is that Allah's protection becomes stronger than the harm aimed in your direction. Often, the believer won't even realize how many plans were quietly neutralized by divine intervention. You might hear later that someone attempted to harm your reputation only for the narrative to collapse. Someone may have tried to block an opportunity only for Allah to open a better door. A person may have plotted against you in the darkness while angels were shielding you in the light of Allah's mercy. When you stand in prayer with sincerity, you step into a protection that does not merely respond to harm, it preempts it, redirects it, and rewrites it. Psychologically, this is incredibly empowering. It frees you from the exhausting task of obsessing over what others might be doing behind your back. When you understand that prayer weakens the plans of enemies, your mind becomes lighter. You stop living in defensive mode. You stop fearing the unseen intentions of people. Instead, you anchor your heart in the unseen protection of Allah. This shift is transformative. It moves you from anxiety to assurance, from overthinking to inner clarity. And the truth is, the schemes of people often reveal more about their own insecurities than your shortcomings. Prayer teaches you to stop fighting shadows and instead face the world with grounded confidence. Because anyone who plots against a person protected by Allah is already defeated, though they may not know it yet. Their plan cannot overpower what Allah has decreed, and their effort cannot penetrate the shield created by your dua. It is a divine equation. The moment you call upon Allah sincerely, the balance of power shifts entirely. Philosophically, this should reshape how you interpret conflict. Instead of reacting with fear or anger, you begin to recognize that many situations exist only to strengthen your reliance on Allah. Some enemies are not meant to harm you, they are meant to elevate you. Their attempts become the very means through which Allah protects, purifies, and positions you for something greater. When viewed through this lens, the hostility of others becomes less intimidating and more revealing. It shows you who you are and who stands with you. So whenever you feel targeted, misunderstood, or undermined, go back to prayer. Let the world plot, but let your heart remain attached to the one who controls every outcome. Because when you pray sincerely, the plans made against you lose their power long before you ever hear about them. One of the most beautiful gifts that prayer offers is the emotional stability it brings to the believer. Life can feel chaotic, overwhelming, and unpredictable, but the moment you turn to Allah, you enter a space of clarity and grounding that nothing else can provide. When you pray, when you engage in sincere conversation with your Creator, you strengthen your inner world in a way that external circumstances cannot easily shake. This is where true resilience begins, not in the absence of difficulty, but in the presence of a heart anchored by faith. Many people assume peace comes from having control over everything around them. But peace actually comes from surrendering control to the one who already governs every detail of your existence. When you pray, you acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, and that frees you from the pressure of pretending you do. Suddenly, life becomes less about managing every outcome and more about trusting Allah through every stage. This shift does something profound to the mind. It removes unnecessary fear. It calms emotional storms. It brings perspective where confusion once lived. Prayer also offers psychological strength by reconnecting you with your deeper purpose. When you stand before Allah, you are reminded that your value does not rest in people's approval or the successes they measure you by. You belong to Allah, and your worth is tied to the sincerity of your heart. That understanding alone is enough to steady a person through the harshest criticism and the loudest negativity. You stop absorbing every comment, every setback, every disappointment as a reflection of your identity. Instead, you begin to filter life through faith, not insecurity. What makes this transformation so powerful is that it happens quietly. No one sees the moment your heart softens in prayer. No one hears the conversation you have with Allah when you admit your fears, your hopes, your weaknesses. Yet, those private moments create the emotional foundation that allows you to walk confidently through public challenges. The angels witness your sincerity, Allah responds to your vulnerability, and the strength you gain becomes something no enemy can tamper with. Philosophically, this aligns with the idea that true power is internal. External victories are temporary. Internal victories shape your character, your world, you, and your ability to navigate hardship with wisdom rather than panic. When prayer becomes a consistent part of your life, you develop an emotional maturity that isn't dependent on circumstances. You leverage patience instead of anger, humility instead of ego, clarity instead of impulsiveness. This is how prayer elevates you not just spiritually, but psychologically. And the remarkable thing is that this inner peace is available to anyone who seeks it. You don't need to be perfect. You simply need to be sincere. You bring your heart to Allah as it is, and He strengthens you in ways you could never strengthen yourself. So remember, when your inner world is steady through prayer, no external storm can break you, because your peace comes from the one who never changes. There's a profound truth that becomes clear the more you engage with prayer. Not every challenge is meant to break you. Some difficulties arrive in your life to elevate you, reshape you, or redirect you to something far better than what you were chasing. When you turn to Allah in prayer during those moments, you begin to see hardship through a different lens. You stop viewing it as punishment and start recognizing it as a process, refining, a strengthening, a means through which angels record your patience and Allah unfolds a deeper wisdom. Prayer transforms challenges because it changes the one experiencing them. When you pray sincerely, your mindset shifts. The same difficulty that once overwhelmed you now becomes something you face with composure. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and you begin asking, "What is Allah teaching me through this?" That shift alone is transformative. It allows you to extract meaning from moments that once felt meaningless. It helps you endure pain that once felt unbearable. It opens doors of insight that were previously hidden behind frustration and fear. And the beauty of this process is that angels are recording every moment of your perseverance. They record your tears, your patience, your silent strength, your silent struggles. None of it goes unnoticed. None of it is lost. Every challenge you meet with prayer becomes an elevation in your rank, a purification of your heart, and a strengthening of your spirit. You walk out of something that once felt destructive with a new clarity, stronger, wiser, and more grounded than before. Psychologically, this is one of the most empowering aspects of faith. When you know your struggles have purpose, you stop crumbling under them. When you trust that Allah sees what others don't, you stop seeking validation from those who cannot understand your journey. You gain emotional depth. You develop resilience. You begin to appreciate the quiet victories within yourself, moments where you chose patience over anger, trust over despair, prayer over panic. Philosophically, this understanding reshapes your view of life itself. You begin to see that growth often requires discomfort, breakthroughs require pressure, transformation requires challenge, and prayer is what makes that journey bearable. It aligns your heart with Allah's wisdom even when His plan is not yet visible to you. It gives you the stability to hold on when everything inside you wants to give up. It reminds you that Allah is crafting something in you that couldn't have been developed any other way. And the doors Allah opens after hardship often surprise you. What you thought was a setback becomes the pathway to something greater. What you thought was a loss becomes the foundation of a better chapter. What you thought was the end becomes the beginning of a new strength within you. So remember, when you meet hardship with sincere prayer, you don't just survive the challenge, you grow from it. And in that growth, Allah writes a story for you that is far more beautiful than the struggle you endured.